We don't rush stories, we live in them. Long ago, before roads cut through the land, before lanterns burned in every window, before men believed they understood the forest, there was a village hidden beneath the mountains. It was small, quiet, surrounded on every side by trees so old the elders said their roots touched the memories of the earth. No one entered the forest after sunset, not because there were signs, not because there were fences, but because every child in the village was taught the same warning. There are places beneath the trees where ancient things still watch in silence, and the forest always knows who belongs to it. For many years, the village lived carefully. They haunted only what they needed. They cut only the wood required to survive the cold seasons. And whenever wolves howled beyond the northern ridge, the elders would lower their voices, as if the sound itself carried meaning. Some feared the wolves, others respected them, but the oldest among them believed the wolves were not simply animals. They were guardians, messengers, keepers of a boundary no human eye could fully see. Then one winter evening, as snow fell softly across the rooftops, a woman emerged from the forest. No one saw where she came from. No footprints led behind her. No horse carried her. No torch burned in her hand. She simply appeared at the edge of the village, walking slowly through the storm, with the child wrapped in cloth against her chest. The villagers froze. Her cloak was covered in snow. Her face remained hidden beneath a deep hood, but the child in her arms did not cry. He only stared quietly, as if listening to something no one else could hear. The elders came forward first. They were afraid, but something about the woman made them bow their heads, not in weakness, in recognition. She placed the baby gently into the arms of the eldest woman. Then she looked toward the trees behind her. For a moment, the whole forest seemed to grow still. Even the wind stopped moving. Then the woman whispered, "Protect him well." The elders waited, and she said, "The forest already knows his name." Before anyone could ask who she was or where the child had come from, she turned away. By sunrise, she was gone. Some villagers searched the snow for tracks, but they found nothing. Only a single white wolf standing far beyond the tree line, watching silently, before disappearing into the dark woods. Years passed. The child grew. He was quiet from the beginning, not sad, not strange, just still. The other children ran through the village streets shouting, laughing, chasing one another through the dust. But the boy often sat alone near the edge of the forest, listening, sometimes for hours. When asked what he heard, he would only smile softly and say, "The trees are not empty." As he grew older, people began noticing things. Wolves were never far from him. Not enough to attack, not close enough to frighten, but always there, at the ridge behind the pines. Across the narrow stream, watching, waiting. Some nights, when the moon was full, villagers would wake to find paw prints circling the young man's home. Not just one wolf, many, and yet no livestock was harmed. No child was taken, no blood was found, only tracks, as if the wolves had not come to hunt, but to guard. The elders never spoke of it openly, but in private they wondered if the woman from the forest had given them more than a child. Perhaps she had given them a warning. Perhaps she had given them a promise. Or perhaps she had given them something the forest wanted back. The young man became known for his gentleness. He helped repair roofs after storms. He carried water for the old. He left food near the homes of widows. And when hunters returned wounded from the woods, he knew which leaves to crush, which roots to boil, which prayers to say beneath his breath. No one had taught him these things, at least no one human. One evening, when the village fires were low and the cold rain tapped against every door, the young man entered the elder's hall. All conversation stopped. He stood before them calmly. His eyes were bright, not with fear, but with purpose. Then he said, "The time has come." The elders looked at one another. No one asked what he meant. Deep down, they had always known this day would arrive. The young man continued, "Send your bravest warrior with me. We will go into the forest to seek knowledge few have ever known." A silence fell over the hall. The forest was not a place people entered lightly, especially not when the leaves began to die, especially not beyond the northern ridge. The land was older than the village, older than memory. Some said the trees there grew around things buried beneath the earth. Some said voices could be heard beneath the roots. Others claimed the wolves gathered there when something ancient stirred in the dark. At last, a warrior stepped forward. He was strong, proud, feared by many. He had fought men from distant valleys. He had faced bears. He had walked through storms without trembling. And though he respected the young man, he did not believe in all the elders' whispers. To him, a forest was a forest. A wolf was a wolf. And fear was something men invented when they did not understand the dark. "I will go," the warrior said. The young man nodded. Before dawn, they left the village together. No one followed. Fallen leaves covered the forest floor beneath their feet, and within moments, the wind scattered their footprints into the dying season. The deeper they walked, the quieter the world became. Cold wind moved softly through the branches above them. Amber leaves drifted endlessly through the fog. Birds stopped singing. Branches no longer creaked. Even the warrior's breath seemed too loud. The young man walked ahead without hesitation. He did not carry a sword, only a small bundle resting across his shoulder. For hours they moved beneath trees so tall the sky nearly disappeared. And though the warrior tried to remain calm, he began to feel watched, not by one thing, by many. Sometimes he saw movement between the trunks, a flash of gray fur, a pair of eyes, a shadow lowering its head. Wolves. Always wolves. But they did not approach. They only followed. As evening rain began falling through the trees, the young man stopped beside a narrow stream. He turned to the warrior and said, "For 3 days I will leave you alone." The warrior frowned. "Alone?" The young man nodded. "You must listen to the forest without my voice beside you. The warrior almost laughed, but something in the young man's expression stopped him. Then the young man said, "When you see me again, I will appear as a white wolf." This time the warrior did laugh, but because he did not know what else to do. "Men do not become wolves," he said. The young man smiled. "No," answered softly. "But some men remember what they were before they were man." Then he returned and walked into the forest. Within moments, he was gone. The warrior waited. At first, he was irritated, then cold, then uneasy. Night came quickly. He built a small fire, but the flames seemed weak beneath the trees. They gave light, but not comfort. All through the night, he heard movement beyond the firelight, paws pressing into wet leaves, branches shifting, low breathing in the dark, but nothing attacked. On the second day, hunger came. The warrior searched for food, but found almost nothing. No tracks of deer, no birds, no rabbits, only wolf prints, hundreds of them, circling the place where he slept. By the second night, he stopped feeling like a warrior. He felt like a child, small, exposed, surrounded by a world that had never belonged to him. The forest did not hate him. That was what frightened him the most. It simply did not need him. On the third day, fog drifted heavily between the trees. The forest smelled of rain and dying leaves. The warrior could barely see beyond the amber mist. He held his sword close. His hands shook from cold and hunger. And just before dusk, a howl echoed through the forest. Long, lonely, ancient. It did not sound like a warning. It sounded like a memory. The warrior stood slowly. Another howl answered from the ridge, then another, then another. Soon the entire forest seemed alive with voices, and at the edge of the trees, something white appeared. A wolf, larger than any wolf the warrior had ever seen. Its fur was pale as moonlight. Its eyes were calm, almost human. Behind it, a silent pack watched from the shadows. Gray wolves, black wolves, old wolves with scarred faces, young wolves standing still as stones. The warrior could not move. The white wolf stepped forward slowly. In its jaws, it carried a small rabbit, not torn, not bloody, gently held. And tied beside it, hanging from a cord, was a small gold whistle. The wolf came closer, then lowered its head and placed the rabbit and whistle at the warrior's feet. The warrior stared, his breath caught in his chest. All his pride, all his certainty, all the things he thought he understood, fell silent, because in that moment he knew this was the young man, not changed, revealed. The forest had not taken him, it had recognized him. The warrior slowly reached for the whistle. The white wolf did not move. Its eyes remained fixed on him, as if offering not a gift, but a responsibility. Then the warrior heard it, far beyond the trees. Not a howl, not wind, something deeper, something hidden, a sound beneath the forest floor. The wolves turned their head at once. The entire pack faced the darkness beyond the ridge, and suddenly the warrior understood what the villagers never had. The wolves were never protecting the young man alone. They were protecting the village, watching the forest, guarding the boundary, standing between the people and whatever ancient thing waited beyond the trees. The rabbit was not just food, it was mercy. The gold whistle was not just a token, it was a warning, a way to call the guardians when the dark beyond the forest began to move again. The warrior dropped to one knee, not from fear, from respect. The white wolf stepped closer, and for one brief moment rested his forehead against the warrior's hand. Then it turned away. The pack followed, one by one. They disappeared into the drifting fog and fallen leaves, silent as spirits. Before disappearing completely, the white wolf looked back and released one final haunting howl. The sound traveled through the trees, over the narrow stream, past the northern ridge, all the way back to the village. The elders heard it. The children heard it. Even those asleep woke with tears in their eyes, though they did not know why. At sunrise, the warrior returned alone. He carried no trophy, no story of conquest, only a rabbit and a small gold whistle. The elders said nothing when they saw it. They only bowed their heads. From that day forward, the village changed. No one mocked the forest. No one hunted beyond the northern ridge. And every autumn, when the cold rains returned, the villagers left offerings at the tree line, bread, herbs, small wooden carvings, and sometimes on the coldest nights, a white wolf could still be seen standing beneath the moon watching the village in silence, not as a threat, not as a ghost, but as a guardian, because some protectors do not stand at our doors. Some wait in the dark places where we are afraid to look. Some love quietly, some guard silently, and some names are known by the forest long before they are known by the world. Step quietly into the next story. Follow for more. The Unhurried Soul.